The Toyota Grand Highlander. What a way to bust onto the scene. That's like me introducing myself as the majestic Kristen Lee. But as far as names go, it's a pretty accurate one because this 3-row Toyota SUV is pretty grand. Despite the name, this isn't just a bigger Highlander. It's actually a completely new car. It just happens to share a name and look similar. Overall, it's 4 inches longer, 2 inches taller, and 2.3 inches wider than the un-Grand Highlander. Here, the lines are more trapezoidal and everything just looks a little more geometric. But much like with people, what matters is on the inside. Check it out. Grand Highlanders can seat either 7 or 8 people depending on configuration. But that 3rd row is where the money is. Because you know with a lot of 3-row SUVs, sitting back there can be kind of cramped, feels like an afterthought. You don't really have much room to get comfortable, much less stretch out. But Toyota says the 3rd row here in the Grand Highlander is much bigger than the regular Highlander, and in fact it's only a little smaller than the full-size Sequoia. So let's go take a look. So the cool thing about this 2nd row seating is it's on rails, which means you don't have to wait for a motor or anything, and this opening is nice and wide so you can get through it and come out of it very easily. So I'm back here now, slide it all the way back, do a scoot, there. So I am between 5'3" and 5'9", depending on the dating app that I'm using, and now that I've settled a little bit, my shoulder room is good, my headroom is good, my leg room is good, and these seats are pretty comfortable. So I think I could spend a couple of hours back here, no problem. One thing that might be a little bit of a problem is the amount of leg room here because this cubby gets in the way, but fear not, because it is totally removable. So you can put your feet up. Before we get to driving, there is one more thing I want to talk to you about, which is how much trunk space there is with this 3rd row upright. So let's go check it out. So I have here a full-size suitcase, which is not a prop, by the way. I actually flew here with this. You're going to see exactly how much we can fit. And with room to spare. Now that we have interior dimensions figured out, let's go driving. Today, we are driving the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max all-wheel drive, which has a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder hybrid engine that makes 362 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot of horsepower and torque for an SUV. You will need all of it, by the way, because, make no mistake, this is a pretty heavy car. When you're driving a big car like this, naturally, you want it to have good brakes. And the Grand Highlander does have that. The brake pedal feels good and accurate, and there isn't a weird dead zone at the top of the pedal travel. And it handles like a large vehicle. I do wish the suspension was a little softer, but these are by no means deal breakers. It is still a very comfortable car, and more importantly, it's very, very easy to drive. Now, in big SUVs like this that are designed for errands or groceries and things like that, usually the steering is pretty feather light and not very communicative. But here it actually has really good weight and it feels nice to use. It's quite accurate. The thing I also like is being able to raise the seat up as high as I can, because as a short person, I need everything I can get. And also the Grand Highlander's hood is pretty tall, so you want to be able to see over it for safety reasons. So after spending a bunch of time with the new Grand Highlander, I can definitively say it both looks good and drives great. But more importantly, it's got a totally usable 3rd row and a big trunk to boot. Puns. In the mid-size 3-row SUV space, it's pretty saturated. You've got your Hyundai Palisades, Kia Tellurides, Jeep Grand Cherokee Ls, Chevy Traverses. But Grand Highlander is the newest of the bunch, comes as a hybrid, and has Toyota's reputation for bulletproof reliability. Normally I'm one to say don't count your chickens before they hatch, especially with this grand naming scheme. But it really seems like Toyota's on the money here, because it's going to sell a bajillion.